What does a CEO really do?
Unfortunately, as you and I know, many CROs today run sales. And what CROs should be doing, if they're hired properly and appointed properly, is overseeing the entire revenue operation. That means they should oversee marketing and sales and customer success. That doesn't mean that they don't have functional leaders managing those particular groups, but they're the leader responsible for those functions and aligning them.
So would you say that the CEO profession is so new that the principles of performance have not been really formally established, and that every CEO pretty much has his or her own blueprint for success?
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, the CRO role is, 15 years old?
Yeah.
It's the youngest C-suite role. Maybe if there's a chief IA officer, it's probably the newest one, which there probably will be one. But in terms of the core C-suite roles, the CRO role is a baby compared to CMOs and CEOs. So yes, I think that the maturation of the role, we're in the middle of watching it happen as we speak.
So I've done a LinkedIn search, and I've found about, 12,000 COO titles?
Yeah, it's probably about right.
Right. How many of those are all reporting to the CEO percentage-wise?
I mean, how many of them report to the CEO?
Yeah.
I'd say they all do, but I think the distinction is what's their job, right? Because they all report to the CEO.
Right.
But I'd say probably maybe 15, I'm going to make this up, but I'm pretty close to this. I'd say probably 15% of them actually oversee the entire revenue function. I think the majority still run sales.
Right. And when I look at the company, there's also a CMO in the organization.
Right.
Why is that?
So, well, this is a great question. So I'm provocatively said, and I still feel this way, that B2B companies should not have a chief marketing officer. And I want to explain it.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with an opinion I have about marketing or CMOs. In fact, I have a marketing agency, so I have a love for marketing. I've made a living on it for 30 years. However, I think that the crowded silos at the C-suite level are part of the problem that B2B companies are dealing with. And by promoting C-suite executives to run these functions, they end up building walls in between these functions. And a CMO, in my view, is not as a necessity for a B2B company as it is for a B2C company, where I think a CMO is actually could be the most important person in a B2C company.
Right.
So I think that they should have a marketing leader who has the same competencies, but reports into the CRO simply to ensure that there is this unified revenue leadership, which the CRO should have.
So did the CRO role come out of technology companies that had problems with aligning sales, marketing, and customer success?
No, I don't think so, actually. I think the original CROs, remember 1998, 99 with the big first boom, the first big internet boom?
When Salesforce went.
So when Salesforce first came out, when the first crash, before that first initial crash, there was a lot of money flowing into Silicon Valley, and a lot of tech was a big thing, and the unicorn was invented. And what happened was most of the people that started these companies, like today, are engineers. They weren't business people. They knew how to build things. And they created products that were amazing and innovative, and they were really visionaries, but they didn't have commercial expertise. So when the companies became funded, there's a lot of money flowing around back then, companies grew very fast. They needed a commercial leader to come in and help run the business. And this chief revenue officer role, which is around 2015, did a lot of research on this, around 2015, was sort of like this big, brawny role. I remember see the show Silicon Valley?
Right.
Remember the guy with he was talking about the car, it goes like this, the doors open like that? That's the original CRO. It was like the guy who had the big car and he had the big Rolodex. And so it was a very prestigious role. It was someone who kind of came in to sort of bring order to chaos and brought a big Rolodex, can make big deals. I think a lot of it was also public relations. You announce the CROs coming in, the market perks up to the company's future, and the stock goes up, right? And I think the glorification of the role sort of never ended. And I think salespeople gravitated towards that role because There's a certain personality profile for that.
So there are really two things that come to my mind when I listen to you. One is the structure of the organization, and the other one is the function of those roles.
Right.
So what I like about when I go to your website, CRO Collective, you actually have a questionnaire for CEOs or COs where they can identify whether their organization is CRO ready.
Right. It's a good, yes, I do. It's a great quiz. It's an assessment. It's about 27 questions. It's not the full, let's say, blood work.
Right.
You know, it's an initial scratch test, so to speak.
Right.
But it's pretty indicative because the score is designed to provoke a business leader into understanding the maturity of their revenue operation. The idea behind the quiz, you can go to it, thecrocollective.com, is that you should be able to answer yes to every question. Right? If you're a healthy organization, you should be able to definitively, without any hesitation, say yes to every question. And most companies can. In fact, I'd say the average score I see is around 40 out of 100. It's a score.
Because I remember a conversation with a CEO telling me that they're hiring a CRO. And out of the blue, because I know you, I said, how do you know that your company is CRO ready? And there was a long pause. He says, I never thought about it.
It's great. I love it. Well, thank you, because you're right.
Yeah.
And as I said before, my little preamble before that other panel, you know, you could be the greatest chief revenue officer on the planet, but if you go to a company that's not ready for one, it's a disaster. And in fact, I've seen a lot of broken, very talented chief revenue officers who have really bad experiences blamed for problems that they weren't responsible for because the company didn't really know what to do with this person. And what they end up happening many times, they end up running sales because that's what they need. That's what they end up doing, you know? And so the other side of the equation isn't just about training and developing chief revenue officers properly. It's also getting the company ready for one. It's incredibly important distinction here. And to your point, I don't think enough people think about that.
So there, to the best of my knowledge, there are 3 universities, Chicago, Columbia, and Wharton, that have a CRO training program. And I would suggest to the sales and revenue enablement leaders to check that out because I have several friends that are in enablement managers that want to become CEOs.
Well, I have a CRO course.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes. So my course is the Chief Revenue Officer Accelerator course, and it's for aspiring CROs. It's been going on for 5 years before those 3 universities started it. And I run about 6 a year. And if you're looking to become a chief revenue officer, or let's say, for example, you're a leader of a sales organization, you're a leader of a marketing organization, you're a leader of a revenue operation, and your boss came to you and said, you know, I think we want to make you the new chief revenue officer, or if you have the ambition to become the new chief revenue officer, or if you want to go leave your job and go get a job as chief revenue officer, my course is designed to help you understand what the role is, give you tools to start from day one so you succeed in the role, and also how to set yourself up in the company to find out if they're ready for you or not. So that's exactly what we do for the CRO course.
How long does it take? What does it cost?
It's a 15-week course. It's live, facilitated by me, and it's $5,000.
Wow, that's a bargain.
Yeah, it is bargain.
What, the University of Chicago?
About $25,000, I think.
I think Columbia is 20.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go to yours.
I understand. I mean, I would, but like I said, there's some more options now than there used to be. But my course and also the Pavilion course were the first 2 CRO courses that were out there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What other services do you provide? Are you a CEO fixer as well?
To a degree. I mean, I do work with CEOs.
Okay.
They hire me for the CRO Readiness Program, which is a much more involved program that helps companies get ready for one. So my clients call me when they're ready to hire a chief revenue officer, and they can't answer that question. I don't know if we're ready for one or not. And we have a program specifically designed for companies to develop more revenue operational maturity and prepare themselves to bring on a chief revenue officer properly. And the other thing I do is I'm an advisor to founders and CEOs and CROs. I help them navigate this crazy revenue leadership stuff that plagues companies.
Well, I think you have done a lot to elevate the CEO profession. I'm really curious, what is the average tenure of a CEO right now?
Between 16 and 18 months on average.
And what is the secret to longevity? Some of our winners there have been in that role for a longer period of time, and Marco actually got a promotion to CEO.
It's amazing, amazing story.
Yeah.
You know, I think the people I find that last long in the role, honestly, it's that they're at the company that understands how to use them properly.
Right.
It really is. You know, it's like you have tools in your garage. I have tools in my garage. You know, you go to someone's house and their tools look pristine. They've had them for a long time because they take good care of them and they know how to use them properly. You go to someone's house and their tools are all messed up. It's because they don't use them right. They leave them out. And, you know, they say, oh, this thing's a piece of crap. It lasted me only a year. It's like, it wasn't that. It's like you didn't know how to use it properly.
Right.
You didn't store it properly. You didn't clean it properly. It's literally the same thing. The tool was great. Someone worked really hard on inventing this thing.
Right.
So, you know, I think that, and I don't want to take credit away from the people that are good at the job, because you have to be a good tool to begin with. But I am telling you, if you're in the wrong garage, you will be broken.
Right.
So it really, I see this. I see a combination of great people at the right company who understand what the role is and how to put it into work properly.
Right.
Those are the ones that last the longest.
Okay, final question.
Sure.
What's your best advice in terms of tech stack to create an organization where there is that harmony, there is that one voice for sales, marketing, customer success? But what technology do you recommend that is at the center of the CEO activity?
Yeah, it's a tough one because there's a lot of them out there now. So I don't have like some specific software I'm going to say. I'm not going to endorse something, but I would say this category.
Okay.
I would say without question, aside from all the, let's put sales tech to the side for a second, like Gong and other things, which are good tools. But for integrating, you need a centralized integrated data management system. Clary is one of them. They're in that category, right? These are revenue software integration systems, and they have to be attached to your CRM. So it needs to be either HubSpot, which I'm a big fan of HubSpot, frankly. I like the way it works, or Salesforce, obviously. And you have a integrated revenue RevOps platform, right, that allows a RevOps leader, which is a key hire for a chief revenue officer, who has the ability to look at the whole picture, not just look at the sales channel, which is what most companies are obsessed with, but look at how marketing is impacting sales. So, for example, you should be able to answer a question like this, which a lot of companies can't. What is the monetary contribution that marketing made to a sale?
Got it.
You should know that answer.
Yeah. Definitely.
And most companies don't know, okay? Other things are the customer success function, which I think is the most vital part of a business, frankly, because your customers are the lifeblood of your business, and that's where you should get most of your revenue from renewals, right? The customer success function, you have an insights function where you know why people signed up, why people left, and why people stayed. Okay, and why people renewed. You should know such specifics about the product, the service, and the reasons why they didn't, so that that insight gets passed over to sales and gets passed over to marketing so they can use that in the way that they go and deploy their motions. I don't see that happen at all, hardly, and it's crazy.
Interesting. It reminds me of the distinction somebody once said between a cook and a chef. A cook creates a meal that's satisfies your hunger, and a chef creates an experience that's memorable. So I think the same applies to a CEO. They create an organization that becomes memorable for the customer and for the salesperson.
Absolutely. It's great. I love it. That's beautiful and so true. Everybody knows you have one company you work with that you just love. Like, we all have this one company we work with or a brand or something we use that we love them, you know, that they just get me. They're always responsive. I'll always renew them. Unfortunately, they're pretty rare now. Remember, there used to be a lot more. Apple used to be that way. They're not anymore, honestly. They used to be amazing, right? You felt like this magic happened, you know? And I do think that a CRO should be responsible for making customers feel like you should have your customer almost say, it's almost like they're thinking about me.
Yes, yes, yeah.
If I'm a CRO of a company and I had that as my mission, and I told everybody in the company, any decision we make should be, how does this affect the customer? Okay, so let's think about that. So if I said that, do you think that they'd hire a bunch of SDRs to start blasting out phone calls to people's cell phones all day long? There's no way they would do that because it annoys the hell out of a potential customer. So a lot of the things that are happening are not being driven by a customer-centric perspective. They're being driven by a top-down, probably revenue or new customer acquisition perspective, which customers don't care about. And this is a hard thing to do in today's marketplace because there's a lot of pressure to get your quarterly numbers. So I'm not naive to these realities, but a good CRO knows how to balance these things, and that's the job.
So there's a difference between an opportunistic mindset and a mindset that aligns all those parts of an organization and aligns them with what customers dream about.
Yeah, I think that's it. You know, it's interesting, right? So there's two kind of companies I see. There's what I call the MFR companies. They're called made for revenue.
Right.
Someone says, oh, wow, this is a really good model. If we take this thing, we put it to market, and we fund it properly, the stock will go up, it'll evaluation up, and in 2 years we can flip it and make this much money. So that company was made for revenue.
Yep.
That's a different company than a company that was built to last. So if I'm a CRO interviewing for a job and they say to me, your job is to get us sold in 3 years, you're on a fast train to nowhere. Right. Now that company may do that, but that's not going to be a good chief revenue officer role. You want to be in a company that says we want to really build something that in 20 years we're the best of this category. So they're both success, right?
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Flash in the pan success gets a lot of media.
Yeah.
When you see the company that flipped in 2 years and made $1 billion, that gets all the PR. But the company that's been around for 25, 30 years, that's the silent company that's out there like making wins every day, but no one hears about, but they're the ones you use all the time. So I think there's a lot of glorification of the unicorn chasing that has kind of screwed up the way companies are managed today. And I think the chief revenue officer has been a victim of that. And I think we could try and change it. That's the whole point.
Well, that was a great conversation.
Well, thank you.
Give him a big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.